Hey y'all, Christina here, back on the channel with another backlist video, and it's been a long time since I've done one of these. I'm trying to think, as a matter of fact, let's find out. How long has it been since I have done a backlist video? My last backlist video was a month ago, or probably actually longer than a month ago. It's just saying a month because I don't know why it's saying a month. Let me see the date on this video. May 28th, so basically 2 months. So it's basically been 2 months since I've done my last backlist video. And if you're new around here, that may not seem like a long time to you, but my backlist is like 70 titles deep. So if I'm gonna get through all of them, I need to be on this baby got backlist thing because I got a lot of books to get through. Today, we are going to be talking about equivalent exchange. I'm going to put it up right here so that this does not look crazy, so that I don't look like a crazy person. Just here doing this with my hands for some reason or another. Equivalent exchange is the first book in the Night Shift series. I never really advertised it as a series because I did not know when I would come back to it, in what form I would come back to it, all those things of that nature. But as we speak, I'm actually working on a book in that series that I'm actually toying with the idea of doing a spin-off rather than a book in the series, since it does not follow any of the main or even secondary characters from Equivalent Exchange. It actually follows tertiary characters, but we're not here to talk about that book today. We're here to talk about Equivalent Exchange today. So in Equivalent Exchange, we meet Keris, who is a graphic designer, a woman after my own heart. And she ends up in a bit of an entanglement with the owner of Night Shift, who is Laken Kimble. He is from Louisiana and Kentucky. That's what his name comes from. It's what's the word? I just read it because I just read the book. What's the word? A portmanteau. It is, his name is a blend of these two places that make up his family's cultural identity. And his family also is the foundation of Kimble Bourbon, which is a spirit company that Laken is supposed to inherit, basically, but that he wants to branch out on his own. And that's how Night Shift comes about. Night Shift is the bar that he uses as the vehicle in order to be able to earn the money to fund his real passion, which is the brewery, the bar, and a nano brewery, not a micro brewery, because it is smaller than that brewery. It's kind of a hard word to say, isn't it? Brewery. I don't know. Anyway, y'all get the picture. This book, I feel, is one of the best books that I have ever written, just in terms of the storytelling, in terms of the language, in terms of the connection between the characters. I'm not saying it is the best book I've ever written, because I don't think that I don't think that I've got the capacity to even make a judgment like that. But it is definitely, if I had to deliver a top 5, I would definitely say that it belongs in the top 5. And I have felt like this about this book for a while. And upon rereading it recently, it actually left me feeling a little paralyzed to work, because it's like, okay, this is phenomenal. How do I write something and say that this is going to be in the same series? Like, how do I even do that? Like, that kind of self pressure. I feel like I'm really hyping it up. I hope that you're not watching this and like, yeah, I'm gonna go read Equivalent Exchange, and then you're like, okay, this was very mid. This was very, So Equivalent Exchange, more than just being like a love story, it also introduces this element of what I've been calling magical realism, but I really need to look that up and make sure that I'm using the right term. Let me look that up. Magical realism, perhaps the most common term, often refers to literature in particular with magical or supernatural phenomena presented in an otherwise real world or mundane setting, commonly found in novels and dramatic performances. So I think I can use it. If you don't think I can use it, that's your thoughts, not mine. Keep it to yourself. Anyway, so it introduces this idea of kismet, which I was really concerned about. I was really, really concerned about including, even having written like full-blown paranormal, because it's one thing to say, okay, this is a world, magic is real, supernatural elements are real in this world, and something completely else to bring that type of element into a world that is just our world, like it's just a normal thing. And you know, not saying that kismet doesn't actually exist, just that writing it and making it feel real, like making it feel seamless, all of that, like that's a totally other thing. And I really feel like I was able to, I think I did a good job. I think I did a good job with it. But through this idea of kismet, you have Keris, who is coming out of this terrible, terrible relationship. She has this one night stand with Laken, and she is never expecting it to be anything more than that, because why would she be expecting it to ever be anything more than that? And Laken is like, my brother came to me in a dream and told me that you were my soulmate. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Really, bro? But it works. It works. I think I made it work. I really think that I made it work. I feel like it was just a matter of capturing Keris's skepticism. And even Laken, it's not that he is just immediately like, okay, come on, let's get married or anything like that. He's skeptical too, but because of his experiences, because of this bond that he shared with his late brother, he believes it. And it's like, it's not really in question for him. It's just a matter of, okay, how is this going to go? Like, how is this going to work? And speaking of his late brother, like that is an element that is heavily present through a good part of the book. The handling of grief, like Laken has had all these different times where the people who he loves are being taken from him, and he even says at one point in the book, like, I'm tired of losing, I need a win. And it's so heartbreaking. Like, it's so heartbreaking because all he wants to do is, you know, start this company and, you know, be able to take care of the people that he loves and all of this. Like, he's not a bad guy, but he just keeps, you know, he keeps taking these licks. And through the process of that, you have Keris, who, you know, has taken lick after lick herself, from this traumatic childhood to this traumatic relationship that she stayed in way past the expiration date, just because she was almost paralyzed by the idea of change. She was just so like, this is fine. It's not great. You know, it's not great, and I can't say that I'm happy, but this is fine. Like, that's the mode that she's stuck in. And it's like they come along for each other. They're able to kind of create this balance that's just really beautiful. And so you have this idea of equivalent exchange, or equal and opposite reactions. Equivalent exchange is something that I first heard in an anime called Full Metal Alchemist, and I actually mention it in the book as well. Like, that's where this idea of, you know, it's a magical principle in the show. It's this principle that states that basically for everything that you try to create, you know, you have there has to be a loss. You know, there has to be a loss to make something. There has to be, you know, you have to give something to get something. And the way that it comes to play through the book is these things that each character has to let go of, like this desire to just completely dissociate when things are not going well, this desire to resist change, all of those things. These are things that they have to give up in order for this relationship that could be everything that either of them maybe didn't even know they wanted, but definitely needed. They have to give up all this other stuff in order to gain something. And I don't know, like, I was just really proud of myself for the things that I tried to weave into that book. And honestly, like, even as I'm talking about it, like, I'm a little amazed at myself that I'm even able to talk about it in this manner, because as I was writing it, like, I remember being so terrified. I remember being so terrified that, you know, I'm doing all of this and it, you know, it doesn't seem like anything is really, you know, I just don't know. I just don't know if it's, I just don't know if this is coming together the way that I want it to. I actually started writing Equivalent Exchange maybe a year or maybe even 2 years before it ever, you know, actually came out. And I remember thinking that I was going to go ahead and write it. And I posted something about it. I posted a picture on my Instagram about it and nothing ever came of it. But the story stayed on my mind because part of it was already in my head. And so I needed to, you know, I needed to be able to move forward with it. And there are certain elements of this that, that I wrote and that did not end up in this book. There's actually a full-blown scene that I wrote that ended up in a different book that ended up in Collision Course because it just fit. And there is a decent amount of the storyline that is actually going to come up in a different book because it didn't fit what ultimately what the real for real, okay, this is really it, Equivalent Exchange ended up being, because it was going to be the second chance type of thing from these characters who knew each other and now they were coming back together. That storyline is still very, very heavily on my mind, like down to the details. That storyline is still on my mind. It just did not, you know, it just didn't fit. Like once my mind moved on and the base idea of Equivalent Exchange kind of kept growing and developing in my mind, it ended up being a different story. But that stuff that I had already put down is still so good. And so you guys will see that stuff in an Equilibrium book. You'll actually see that in Atlas from Offensive Formations, Ambrose's brother, Atlas, and Salem, whose story I introduced. You guys actually heard the first chapter or two. If you listen to Request Line, The Wrong Side of a Love Song, that's actually the beginning of that. I'm eventually going to get back to that, but like that story that's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm going to come back to it. And it just all, I don't know, Equivalent Exchange, again, I feel like it's one of the most solid projects I've ever written. And what's crazy is, like, I have projects that were kind of breakout moments, I guess, in my career when I think about like a Getting Schooled or an Ante Up or even the Love Sisters books. Like I have projects that really just kind of popped and I could see the clear, you know, okay, this is pulling me to, I guess, kind of a different level in my career. Equivalent Exchange is not one of those books. It's not one of those books. And it messes with your head a bit. It messes with your head a bit to feel like, you know, this thing that is like miles better than some of the stuff that was really or was better responded to. It didn't get, I guess, the same reception, but you know, it kind of is what it is. I will say though that the audiobook version of Equivalent Exchange kind of brought it some new life, brought it some new eyes, brought it some new attention once that came out. And I remember like that moment where I realized I wanted to commission an audiobook on my own. Equivalent Exchange is one of the first, it's one of the first few projects that I commissioned on my own. Like I had done Haunted, but that was a single narration project. And then I had done one of the Love Sisters books. But Equivalent Exchange was going to be the first full-length project that I did. And so it was an investment. It was an investment. And I remember reaching out to Wesley because she had narrated Ante Up, but I didn't do the production or anything on Ante Up. Like Tanter had licensed the rights or whatever for Ante Up. And so I really didn't have just a ton to do with that beyond, you know, beyond them asking me about the narrators. But I hit Wesley up and asked her, you know, if she would be interested. And I was like, I don't know who to use for the guy. Like, do you have any suggestions? And I don't even remember. I really feel like I didn't even ask to hear him. Like, he didn't even audition or anything like that. She was like, yeah, I know somebody. And that's how Emmanuel ended up, you know, that's how he ended up being the voice of Laken on equivalent exchange, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. I'm not even personally, like, I don't even really listen to audio, but with that being, you know, it's the first time around, you know, with a full length project like that, and with a project, not even just that it was full length, but that it was dear to me. Like, it was really, really dear to me. And it was just this whole other energy, this whole other vibe and all of that. And I mean, needless to say, they really knocked it out of the park. And I'm just, you know, again, like when I think about it, I keep coming back to proud. Like, I'm really proud of what I've done with that. I'm proud of kind of the world building around the bar and around, you know, the brewery itself, the different beers and all of that. I'm just really, you know, I don't know. I'm really grateful to be able to be here doing this and being able to use my imagination in this type of way. All right, now, y'all know I will talk your ear off. So I am going to go ahead and end this video here because I feel like I've talked enough. I feel like I've given plenty of spoilers. Plenty of spoilers for those of you who maybe have not read it before, but there's still so much. Like, there's so much that I did not say, so much that I did not mention. Just the intensity of the connection between Keris and Laken. Even if I did spoil some stuff, if you have not read Equivalent Exchange, if you don't pick up anything else in my catalog, like if you are more of like the rom-com fan, this is not the one. This is not the one. It is definitely heavy. There is a lot of heavy stuff in there. Consider yourself trigger warned for sexual assault, grief, depression. Like there's some stuff in that one. But if you don't pick up anything else in my catalog, like if you would be okay with those things, if you don't pick up anything else in my catalog, definitely pick up Equivalent Exchange. Like I cannot recommend it highly enough. That one is available in KU. The audiobook is available. You can purchase it directly through me on the CCJ Romance site, or you can purchase it. It's available on Audible and all the other, pretty much all the major retailers. I believe you can actually grab it like on your Overdrive library and all of that good stuff. So if you don't see it, request it at your local library. Request that audio version at your local library. And yeah, that's it. I'll be back probably in a few days to introduce more about the other book that I mentioned that I was writing that connects to the Night Shift series. So if you're into that, just look forward to that. And I think that's it. I'll holla. Bye.